Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to the First India Folding Carton webinar organized by Read Munch Exhibitions. Thank you for taking out time and being here today. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, folding carton boxes and paper packaging for the new consumer world. Listen to the subject matter experts and gain valuable insights on new trends in folding carton boxes and paper packaging. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Recorded version of webinar will be available on demand, so don't worry if you miss anything. The attendees can post their questions in the Q&A box and we will be running those questions in the end. Now I really feel honored to invite Mr. Rajat Wahi, our moderator. He's a partner with Deloitte India. With over 25 years of experience in various senior management positions, Rajat has worked extensively in areas of agriculture, retail, and consumer goods. He has driven various engagements with leading clients across sectors. Rajat has helped develop and support the implementation of route to market and distribution strategy for leading consumer packaged goods brands in Africa, Southeast Asia, Europe, and India. Now, without a further talk here, I return the time over to our moderator. Rajat, over to you.
Thanks, and thank you for having us here today and for this great opportunity. Good morning, everybody, and hope everybody's keeping safe and healthy and well. Just before we start, I'll just request all the panelists to maybe take 30 seconds to just introduce themselves, just talk about who they are, what they do, which company they represent. I think you guys will do a better job than me trying to do it for you. So I'll start with Kalyan, and then we can continue with all the other panelists.
Yeah, hi everyone. Kalyan Chattachi here. I'm from ITC Foods Division with a 30+ odd year of experience working onto the fields of packaging and designs. Basically a mechanical engineer, but pulled into packaging because of excitements at very early age. I thought this is the areas where I have to be. And all the best to you. And as Rajat has mentioned, wish you all the best and be safe during this difficult time. Over to next.
Hello everyone, this is Pawan Kumar, having 20 years experience in packaging development, currently working with Dr. Reddy's as an Associate Director, Packaging Development.
Good morning everyone. I'm Varun Banerjee. I head the packaging in Nestle South Asia region. With 27 years experience in different industries. So it's a great opportunity to be part of this panel and would like to really share good discussion around the paperboard topic and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Akshay Kanoria. Thank you very much, first of all, to ReadX for inviting me onto this forum with such distinguished colleagues. And I'm an executive director at TCPL Packaging. We're one of India's largest packaging companies, especially in the paperboard space, with factories all over India. Looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I guess, obviously packaging is starting to play a bigger and bigger role in our businesses today. A lot of the products are distinguished by the packaging, not just the secondary packaging, but even primary packaging, how easily we get it across to our customers. So I'm going to start with, the first question, really looking at the role of designing attractive packaging to create unique customer experiences. I mean, how relevant is that today? I feel it's very, very relevant, but I'd love to hear from the panelists on what are their thoughts on this. And, not in any specific order, but I'll start maybe with Kalyan. Maybe if you just talk a bit about that and just say, what do you think? And just from your experience, how relevant is it for consumers today in creating the unique experiences for them, shopper experiences?
Thank you, Rajat. I couldn't agree more than that. Yeah, this is packaging over time and increasingly become more and more a consumer engaging tool, and having an attractive and functional and convenient packaging is the way forward, and that the demands are growing increasingly. Early days, the packaging was only to protect from a functional point of view. Those paradigms are shifting and shifting fast for the country like India. Packaging being the first point of contact with your offer to the consumer, attractiveness, shelf visible, and on it is always the kind of graphic design, tactile feels, the form which you create that will be shouting out to pick me up kind of a situation. And that is why it is very, very engaging. And there are several layers of engagement activity the packaging can deliver to the consumers. One of the simplest way of putting it out in such a way is that depending upon your offer, that kind of packaging attractiveness which can be built upon, apart from the graphic, tactiles, forms, shapes, and so on and so forth, is the simplicity of the communications which packaging offer will be delivering to the consumer. The first engagement point. It should be easily readable in terms of the important content and messaging what you are giving. Product information is very, very important, because that is how if consumer find it difficult to find what product, what nutrition values, what price, who manufactures it, this makes a lot of inconvenient to them, and this is definitely an ad, and people will not ask for it. This is non-negotiable. It's already should be there. That's part number one. Second point will be is the stability of the form the packaging which will be there. And if you have a package which is not stable, which doesn't sit properly, not visible in the shelf or at the household, or the consumer find it difficult to handle with, is a very, very difficult situation. That is another point which is very difficult, important for creating an attractive engagement with the consumer. Another very, very important thing is that there is no hard first rule how you engage with the consumer through a design in the packaging field, and it all depends on what kind of offers you wanted to you're creating for. There are some places that simplicity, like easy openability, is very, very important factor. Give an example: if you wanted to have a bottle of water on the go, you like the cap to open very easily, and that's how we engage with consumer and create some kind of a positive note. And similarly, when you are getting into a more indulging product like a bottle of wine, you need a rituals like a corkscrew to open that, and that's another set of engagement which you build over a period of time with the consumers. In a luxury space where your products are very, very niche, and you're offering great amount of indulge value, different layers of creating packaging is also engaged quite importantly. For example, very luxury chocolates which you open up a box, or a luxury product like a perfumes or luxury toiletries, you'll have a different layers of packaging. It's, of course, one important factors to be remembered here is that it should not be monotonous, it should not be boring, it should not be looks as over packaged. But at the same time, there's a layers of discovery. One after other, you unravel the things. And there are a few examples in luxury chocolate space in our domain. We have created those kind of offers, and we've got excellent engagements through that. Arrangement layouts are very, very important. I always look the products which Apple sells to the consumers. When you open a box of Apple phones, or you open a box of iPad, or if you have a box of a laptop, the kind of simplicity in the packs, everything is there, one after other comes out, one layer after layers, and that gives you some kind of a rule effect in terms of how you engage with that particular packaging. There are very other kind of tools people are today using by engaging consumers in terms of more importantly in a digital space. It's become evolving, like AR or QR codes. You can talk about your stories, you hook in the consumers through their different aspects of your offer, and build an engagement. I think considering the short.
No, I was just saying.
Shortness of the time, I will leave it and give an opportunity to my other colleagues to enlighten you more on this subject. Thank you.
So thanks so much, Kalyan. And I think you're right. I mean, there's just so much of interesting packaging coming in, from luxury products to even FMCG products today. You know, the whole communication is in the packaging of the product. And I'm just talking about end consumer packaging. And maybe Akshay, you can just shed some light on based on your experience, how you are seeing this evolve, etc.
So actually, thank you. Interesting that Mr. Chatterjee mentioned Apple. I was also going to talk about that. You're spending so much money on a product. The easiest way to communicate that this product is worth the money is the moment that you open the box, and that feeling that you get when you open the box and you unbox, as it were. Second point is today, I'm from a different generation nowadays. Instagram and TikTok, Snapchat, these things have become huge, and a lot of the pull factor in buying an attractive product is that our generation takes a photo of it and puts it up on Instagram. So if your product doesn't look sexy and appealing, people probably won't pick it up, or it won't get that kind of sort of premiumness or mass appeal that you would get from a product that's much more beautiful to look at and to pick up. So I think packaging really communicates the brand value, the brand aesthetic. Another example is Toblerone. I mean, who remembers the taste of Toblerone? Nobody. But everybody remembers the look and the feel of the box because it's so unique and different. Like the Toblerone is the first thing you see in any duty-free chocolate shop. Why is it so prominent? Just because of the packaging. I don't think the product is that special. It's just any other chocolate, but the product is so beautifully packaged that it's got a totally different appeal now. So, packaging is a very subconscious thing. It's something that many people don't notice on the face of it. So people tend to discount the importance of it. When you realize packaging is important is when you change something. And then you get a sort of backlash, or your sale declines, or that kind of pull factor that was coming before doesn't come anymore. Like tomorrow, let's say a purchase guy at Toblerone decides to lower the price and makes it into a simple box. I don't think it's Toblerone anymore. Then it's just any other chocolate, right? So the same thing is true of any brand and any product, not just for premium or mass. It's pretty much for anything, because that subconscious feeling, that pleasure that you get after you buy the product and then you open it, that you can't really put a value on.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of these brands, these cult brands today, have been built for years of basically getting that, staying very close to their core values of packaging, and making sure that that they're sort of sticking with it. The communication, the product knowledge, everything is there. Varun, your thoughts on that? How do you see that change, etc.? And what is your view on what is the value that packaging adds?
Thanks, Rajat. And quickly, I think summarizing the attractiveness of packaging plays a very important role. I think one point which I take from Akshay is that Toblerone stands out. Similarly, certain projects which Nestle also we have done, like the Kai chocolate in Switzerland. If you see, there are different chocolates. Every chocolate cubes has a different mix, and the carton which has been designed to look more natural, more So one thing is coming up very strong is, how do you make the carton more natural? Because you are going towards a sustainable route, and the packaging should look at. So one example which we did in organic cereals, when we launched it, we used the reverse side of the board, printing everything, and it made it totally a paper look, which gives us, instead of doing so much printing and coating and the laminations, etc., you just play around with the matte finish of the board surface, and it stands out completely in the marketplace, and it shouts out, which Kalyan talked about. So it's the selection of the packaging substrate in the form where you see that minimum packaging, as well as utilizing the board properties and the inks properties in a way that consumer makes it a choice, and it differentiate on the shelf space. I think this is something which the board industry and overall the value chain has worked out so well in India. And I would say that we are one of the four country where we can do so many options at a reasonable cost too, which if you look at the other markets where they spend so much money on a premiumization, we can do it much better in our country here. And with the kind of infrastructure we have, I think we are doing very good in designing this attractive packaging. All kind of ink solutions are available. All kind of design solutions are available. So from a FMCG perspective, I think what we are looking at it with post-pandemic era, I think we should be looking at bulk packaging. I think this is something which is going to shift. More standardized e-commerce solutions, which are going to make it easy to ship it out, easy for and attractive for consumer when they see on the digital side that this is the packaging which has to be picked up. And the third part which is coming is very personalization. I think the personalized cartons which will come up with the digital print process and the AI augmenting reality coming into place. This will be the new future of our carton in the carton space. And this will really look at a differentiation in the carton space. And last, I'll say that the one point which is also going to be taking up more and more in future is the consumer engagement through QR codes and different options, which will give them really play around, puzzle type of packaging. So many things can be played out through the carton designing. Thank you, Rajat.
No, that's a great idea, especially QR codes, RFIDs. A lot of brands are already starting to use them. Obviously, the costs are still to be assessed, but a lot of companies are able to, now put a lot of information on the QR code. So you can, once you scan the QR code, an ad can play to you, or you can go to the website and so there's lots of innovation happening in packaging as well. So I'm going to come to Pawan now. Pawan, your thoughts on what is the role that packaging is playing in terms of creating the a value, a consumer value, which creates the connect with the brand.
Yeah, thank you, Rajat. So in case of, I can say in pharma industry, now we are developing patient-centric pack, where we are giving all required information to patient or doctors, and we are designing attractive pack. Earlier we used to do only just regulatory text matter. So I will show one pack. Recently we got Asia Star and India Star, where we have given depicted all information to required to patient. If you will see this, how to use, when to use, what care they should be taken. So all pharma industry is now moving a patient-centric pack, where consumer will get all information and doctor will also get all information about you can say medicine. Same time, we are working on OTC products, where my pack should be more attractive like FMCG products, where we are giving different features like just now Barun told QR code. So we have already started where we are giving the QR code, where if you scan this QR code, you will get all information about the product, means end-to-end information. You need not to go to doctor, and even doctor also, if you scan, he also can read all information about technical information about medicine. So as a folding box board, we are using as a communication to patient and doctors.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that really is the future of packaging to some extent. While we already talked about how brands create the connect by making the packaging look very interesting, and and using the as Barun talked about, using all elements of the packaging from communication, etc. But I think the next stage is, how do you make the packaging more interactive? And I'll come back to you, Barun, on that. What are some of the interesting things you're seeing which creates the connect with consumers to bring them back to the brand? I mean, how do you create that ongoing sort of communication with the consumer? Because everybody has got a packaging idea. Once you go to a supermarket, everything looks the same, very crowded, tight, hardly any space, and the consumer has to decide in 30 seconds or maybe even less than that, 10 seconds, to say, how am I, what is the what product should I choose if you're not already know the brand? How do you differentiate on the shelf? What are some of the things that you're seeing in the industry that are worth looking at and sharing with others who are listening in today?
Yeah, so I'll start with a few examples. I think create a difference is something which I mentioned, that shelf places are becoming cluttered today. More and more brands are entering into the markets. We have to keep that pace, and then we have to design our pack compact, but it has to shout out and it should stand out, right? So in this sense, I think some of the examples which can really do is like what I said about when everybody is in gloss packaging, go to the matte is something. Make it more natural, make it more looking, fresh. I think the freshness content in the packaging should really speak out of the product. That if you are packing a Maggie spicy product, then that spice should be more dynamic, more natural in the packaging. So one example is when we do e-commerce, we have seen that packaging should really speak out, to show the the fume of the Maggie design and the vegetables stand out. So these are some things which has to be done ongoing on the design. We did launch a glow in the dark cartons for KitKat. We did glow in the dark in the flow wrap, and the same can be also followed in a carton in the packaging, which can really see that when the target consumer is children, then how do they pick it up on the shelf in the night time, evening time. So the playing around with the ink also will play a very important role. Then third aspect, if I look at it, make it clutter free design. I think make it a simple word text base with a strong background, and make it look like that you don't have too many text inside. I think this journey every organization is looking forward, and this is one way of doing this, to see that you don't have to incorporate so many things. But our regulatory norms and requirements are so many in the food industry. I think we tend to lose a lot of space in the designing area in incorporating those elements in the packaging. I think that is where we lose out we had to put so many text. Even a FFSI wording has to be in 2-3 colors, So maybe those are the things where it takes more of our energy. But the front panel of the packaging has to be really make it a less, cluttered, make it simple, which I would say that is the way of looking forward to it. Interactive packaging is something which we are looking at it, and I think a lot of industry is having towards developing those kind of connect with the digital media. I think we have a digital platform, and with the digital platform, how do we really connect with the consumer? I think that is where the entire, the activities on the packaging design plays a very important role. I think once we connect that part, I think we are surely to see that, because consumer wants to reuse those packaging also. So there has to be a reusability of the packaging. So one thing in folding box industry, which my colleagues and my I think the business partners are working on, how do we make the carton more reusable, and make value for the consumer in the later stage. So that kind of things will bring it really a big differentiator to make it a reusable packaging and a sustainable journey for all of us.
Thanks, Varun. Kalyan, your thoughts on that? What are some of the trends you are seeing in terms of creating that? Once we talked about making packaging more relevant, but how do you create that ongoing connect with consumers, differentiating on shelf, and also talk a bit about the primary packaging as well, the packaging in which like what Varun talked about, the cartons that are coming to distributors, dealers. How do you make those more effective that they can be reused easily? Just some thoughts on that.
Yep. First of all, I think very importantly, the packaging must have a very strong sync with the brand core values. That's number one. And I'll give you some examples. For example, you have a functional needs of your brand value is to deliver certain functional benefit. It's a food product. A quick example is suddenly come into my mind is that how you engage through this is that the the vada packs, which has got a dispenser on the pouch, which is when we squeeze it, you create a medu vada formation. And that is what delivering your brand value to the consumer through packaging means. That's one example I can say. And one of the example from my portfolio, you can talk about, we have a face wash in the dermic view. It's a premium cosmetic things, and it has got a special nozzles. When you dispense, the face wash comes out in the form of a foam. So that is the delivering functional values connect with your brand values through the packaging. That's the one example. Another thing is that the many of the products, your brand values, you're delivering your targeted audience is the playfulness in the space of kids product, in the space of a youth product. And there are a lot of examples worldwide. There are your package contains toys. You use toys to engage or deliver the brand values. DIY kits in this particular space, promotional activities, consumer promotions on the playfulness through the packaging you deliver. Some of the examples I give you, that one is the Kinder Joy, which is a very popular product. The product become unimportant. The package along with that the toy comes out, has become very, very important. One of the very important examples which you have recently started in our space, the food space, is that our EP noodles has got a paper tray inside, and we use this paper tray as a board game, as a DIY kit for the cash on the brand value of for the EP product, which is the playfulness and engaging. Another thing is that I think is Pawan is here, and the trust is very important in certain product. Pharma is another space. Securing a pack, or even in the food space, a packaging which gives the consumer a sense of security. It is not a fake product. It is not a duplicate product. Through those security features, you engage, you communicate, transmit your brand values, and create a permanent hook to your product and your brand in this particular space. And there are a lot of things is happening, and Varun mentioned about AR code, AR and QR code. In the food space, there are major works is happening in this particular place, that you have a food additives, you have a food, you have a chocolate, you have biscuits. Through this QR code engagement, you actually connect with consumer with the indulgence space and give them as various recipe inputs, how you can create different products from a simpler cookie or a simpler chocolate, and this brings a great amount of engagement with the consumer, and that create a certain amount of hook to your product. And I think the packaging is increasingly going to be a great delivering of the brand values, and it's always in a sync. Those days are gone that you have only a functional boxes and you deliver a product is safe and consumer are happy, and it is becoming a form of communicating medium, your brand values, and connect with your consumers in a deeper and deeper sense.
Thanks, Kalyan. Great thoughts and ideas. Akshay, your thoughts on that? How do you see this, packaging, differentiating, connecting with consumers, creating that, that ongoing dialogue with them?
Yeah, so I'll give you one example. We've worked extensively with one of India's largest auto OEMs. They have their own after sales division. They do a very large value of sale in their after sales, and their packaging quality was quite poor up till now. So it wasn't something that anyone really looked at or thought of much. Then their team changed, and they started re-looking at it. They realized they have a huge counterfeiting, and most of that counterfeiting is because their packaging quality is so poor that anyone can really copy it and then make a fool out of the end consumer. Then by the time the guy buys the box, it's too late. So they came to us, actually. We didn't go to them. They came to us because they knew about us from before. And they asked us for solutions on how to revamp the packaging. The result is that, we totally changed the design. We changed the aesthetic. We added several security features, some overt, some covert. And that division, which, they changed the packaging of, grew 20% compared to the rest of the divisions, because there was such a high counterfeiting. And now they're looking at rolling it out steadily across all of their products. So just one example, I'm sure there's many, and many other companies have done similar things. But this is just one example. So we have, in India, there's a lot of underemployment. So there's a lot of people who are very happy to copy products and counterfeit them. And there's enough people who, could be fooled by that. And, we have to protect our brands from that kind of thing. It's really damaging to your brand value, and it's depleting your sales value as well. So simple things, nobody's saying that you have to spend a lot more money on your packaging. There's simple fixes that one can do. It just requires some focus and attention. And most importantly, people have to think a bit long term about the spending and about the packaging. They can't think about just saving a few paisa here or there. And another example is we've tied up with a software company which does an entire end-to-end solution for brands. So we can put a QR code on the box, you can put it on the strip inside the box, and you can put it on the outer box as well. And you have an entire track and trace mechanism. So when a consumer in Hyderabad scans the product in the shop, it will tell him whether that product was actually supposed to be sold in Hyderabad or was supposed to be sold in Delhi. And the brand will get a ping as well. So let's say some other consumer scanned the same code in the past, he'll get a ping that this code has already been scanned. So this is probably a counterfeit or there's something wrong here. And then the brand can track and trace which dealer, which distributor, which shop, which region, and you can do the whole backend. So today there's enough software and technology and solutions, and I don't think these are a very big cost. When people look at the cost, they think that it's very high, but one should look at the total cost of ownership. It's actually ended up saving you money. So there's plenty of solutions in the market. It just requires a little bit of long-term thinking from the brand and from the marketing of the company.
Sure. Thanks, Akshay. Pawan, coming to you, from a farmer perspective, one of the complaints I always get from my parents and elderly is that all the pharma products, the font size is so small. Most of the time they have to use magnifying glass to see it. And they're selling products for elderly, but they just don't even look at the basic consideration that the font size should be big. So at least people can see the font and read it. So my mom always has to put up a magnifying glass to see it. I mean, basic things are not picked up by brands. And do you guys pay attention to things like that? And how do you make it easier to communicate some of these points to, on the packaging?
Yeah. So regarding this point, if you'll see, we have launched one program at our company, IDEO. In this all packaging, we have changed where our font size is big. And even we have kept space on all packs. If doctor want to write something about any instruction to patient, he can mention that, and patient can follow till that pack completes. You can see it is 10 days or 30 days dose. So we launched this program as an IDEO program, and where we have built such that if you go to even pharmacy, that pack is some purple color we have given. So it is differently, it is immediately attractive and patient can recognize this is Dr. Reddy's pack. So now coming back to font size, as a regulatory requirement in pharma, that lot of text is required. So what we are doing to recognize the patient, how to use and for when to use all this, you can see pictures also we have mentioned in pack where we have given extra panel on many cartons, which are very important. That should not be missed by patient, that medicine is life-saving drug. That also we are now taking care. Now coming back to anti-counter features. So for export market, we have moved to serialization. So all the serial numbers and 2D barcodes we are printing on carton. Even if you scan, if suppose I am exporting 1 lakh carton to Russia, how many cartons is reached at pharmacy, when it is consumed, at what pharmacy level, at what hospital levels, my SCM is collecting all data from our manufacturing facility to till patient end. Based on that, they are directing to hospitals how many packs are sold, or if it is pack sold more than what we have transferred there. So they are directly detecting where counterfeit spurious drugs are there. So that process already we have implemented for export market, and soon for Indian market also we are going to implement. But currently we are giving for India market all, you can say, cohort, anti-cohort features, where we can recognize this is our spec or whether it is, you can say, spurious drug. So all packs what we are making as a patient centric, where we can say it is, we are differentiating pack. Now there is one more trend in pharma, that is OTC drugs. So in all OTC drug, we are giving a specific requirement, or you can say our pack is, we are making differentiate. If you'll see Dr. Reddy's Mint of brand in market. So we have given different features, and that pack is looking very different in pharmacy and very attractive. So at the same time, to pack should be different plus attractive, and it should be suitable as a patient centric. And there should be avoid a spurious drug. We are giving different anti-counterfeit features also. So all this requirement is we are adding in all our pharma packaging. You can see on all folding box board for Indian market as well as for export market.
Great. And okay, so just maybe I'll come to Barun. Barun, you have a hard stop at 11:45, right? Barun, can you hear me?
Varun, you are in mute.
Yeah, you are able to. Yes, I have to.
Okay.
No.
Okay, sure. So I'll just maybe come to you for the next question, just in terms of just moving this conversation forward. I mean, clearly, packaging is very critical for brands, but what is the sustainability element now? Because more and more in the West today, most companies are charged for packaging. They have to pay a certain amount for recycling, etc. In India, we are still not doing that. A lot of packaging is generating waste. So just your thoughts on packaging sustainability. Also, how is paper the best form to ensure packaging and moving away from plastics? How are companies dealing with it? Maybe just spend some time talking about that, and I'll come to everybody on that. Yeah. Because that's clearly a very, very important subject, both from a FSSAI and government perspective. Now, this trying to focus on reducing wastage, right?
Yeah. So quickly getting into the answer to this ongoing good sustainability requirement, I think it is for all of us. I think we need to be conscious about the use of packaging material, which is not really clearly understood by the consumer, how to segregate this. So I'll go back to the segregation process. I think that is something which is still a struggling point for the consumers, for the customers, consumers, how to keep this paper and plastic separately, or it should be in together same place, or with the organic waste in the green bins and all this. So we have blue and green, dry and wet waste, which is the requirement by plastic waste management rule. And that kind of solution, if we have to really look at it, then we have to have a solution in paperboard packaging with the plastic packaging, that it can be separatable. It should not be like today. The one area where we have to really look into is the line cartons, for the Sika kind of range, where there is a paperboard with a metallized layer inside as a line carton. So we have to find a paper solution to that. Then it becomes a fully one material solution. So going forward, it would be one material solution, whether it is plastics, in any plastic, which will be a single polymer structure, which is the way forward, so that the collection and segregation and the waste management is more effective in the context of different opportunity which we have in the waste management area. That is the recycling front, recovery front, will definitely give us a better, the life cycle on this. So mixed polymer to a single polymer based structure is one side of it. On the carton front, if I look at it, the plastics which are right now, the flexible packaging is the low cost than the carton packaging. So if we have to really go into a carton packaging, it has to be a compact solution, and it should also be able to really speak about the benefits of the cartons. Why? Because the life cycle analysis of the every material should be clearly spelled out. So if it is a carton solution, if it is a plastic solution, this has to be thoroughly studied to ensure that we have a good LCA about the material. Now, on board, future is that definitely the generation 2 looks to be the barrier paper, barrier, board structure. Initially it will be plastic, so the entire, the journey would be on a barrier structure in the future. So if I look at a barrier paper in the chocolates, we have already launched some of the products in the Flow Wrap, which we have already moved into the chocolate range in Europe. We have done also some of the Nesquik brand, which is already in the paper bags. We have done ice cream in the paper solution. So a lot of plastics we are getting into a paper solution. where there is a proper, segregation of the paper and paper. Today we are designed for recycling, but how do you really collect to the newspaper kabadi wala who sells it at 10 rupees kg? If you have to really do that part, we need to really engage that value stream to collect our paper boards and other things. So today we are just mixing the carton with the plastic, and then the waste segregators are doing the needful for this. They are separating the board and this. So sometimes it gets, in the solid waste mix. So that is where, today Tetra Pak is one area, regular cartons is one area. So this two needs to be in one point of segregation, and this needs to be collected and really recycled properly. So we can only say that today, and we have to also reduce this metallization content in the cartons. We should minimize the metallized hot stamping, laminated cartons. All this has to go away from the cartons. And this is our journey. We are removing all this as considering it as a negative list on our packaging. We will be removing all this in a 1 year time, 1 to 2 years time, which is our defined period of removing the packs. Yeah. Am I audible? Rajat, you are mute.
Yeah. Sorry, I was on mute. I'm saying, what is the issue with that? What is the issue with this metal? I mean, what does that?
When PIRA was had given a guideline, it is if your metallized coverage is more in the carton, then it becomes an issue. The transfer metallization is not that issue, but stamping metallization to a specific area, it would be okay in a smaller proportion. But when you collect, so again, if it is a more and more same carton is collected in the place, then your, de-inking, demetallization, and this entire recycling will be a challenge.
Okay.
So that is where the question comes, that you use a small portion to make it a standout, and then it becomes more sustainable. So these are some of the thoughts, and going to paper should be more and more. We should not design, robust carton, bigger size impression. You have to really see that don't waste packaging. So that concept has to be there, that it should be minimum packaging for your product need. That's my take. Yeah.
Thanks, Varun. Really appreciate that. Coming to you, Pawan, just your thoughts on the pharma sector and other sectors you operate in. What is the play on sustainability today? Because again, that sector generates a lot of waste, plastic covering, so many layers of, if I look at any medicines I buy, now they're coming in cartons, and the silver strip is inside a carton. It just creates so much of, and I think part of it is like, what even Akshay was mentioning, is part of it is security and for ensuring that consumers feel comfortable. But then what are the downsides of that, and how does that work?
So we have a sustainability program. So in case of carton, we can say we are going maximum, we have moved to FSC boards. Okay, so where we are giving assurance to all export countries, we have used board from FSC grade. So that also we are getting benefit. And if you see this primary packaging material, so there what we are doing, we are now working with all partners where we can develop a biodegradable, recyclable material. You can say currently we are using maximum PVC or PVC, PVDC. Then all this material is currently not that much biodegradable. So moving to again carton, maximum where what information we are giving on primary packaging material, that we have moved to carton. So maximum place shall be utilized in primary packaging material where your plastic uses will be less. And all this information we have shifted to paperboard, you can say on carton. So what is happening here, all cartons are recyclable. So uses of plastic material is, we have reduced throughout our area. Now, in case of all the sustainability program also, now we are part for plastic material, how to recycle. Then in case of boards, and we have reduced all laminated cartons from our, you can say in pharma, you can say as my current company. So there is no any laminated cartons. So we have moved all these cartons with printing. There we are giving embossing, or we are decorating that, but without any plastic material, or you can say cold foil stamping. So we are ensuring my final pack is environment friendly and it is recyclable. and it should not impact on environment. Like that, every product we are tracking, where end to end it should be recyclable, plus it should not be harmful to patient, or you can say environment.
Okay, thanks, Pawan. Uh, Kalyan, coming to you on this role of packaging in sustainability, where do we go with that? While there is a desire to reduce packaging, but on the other hand, you also want to stand out on the shelf, you also want to communicate, you want to grab more share. It's a very, very difficult choice for brands and companies to make. How do you think that what is the future of sustainability and the role of paper in all of this, right? Moving away from plastic.
Yeah, indeed, it's a problem, and it's a problem, and it is facing to all of us. And in fact, there is a huge amount of consumer dissonance. Also, the FMCG company Barun Touchpaste, I agree with that. But if I can get in little slightly more detail about sustainable packaging, sustainability is not only the end of life. Sustainability is right from the beginning of the particular genesis of the product to the till the end of life. So sustainable sourcing is important. And as far as we are concerned, India, we are facing a bigger challenge in terms of, getting a segregated waste at a first place from a household, from a municipal level. And we have around 370 audience here who are listening to this. To them, all of them, my urgent request is that, or honest request is that be a brand ambassador and educate as much as the people you can to tell them to segregate dry and wet waste primarily, first premise. And as long as we do our jobs, and there will be a huge amount of the problem can be addressed through various means of recyclability, reusability of packaging waste as a whole. And here I'm not differentiating between paper, plastic, glass, metal, because if we do not segregate any of this, and if it mixed up to the wet and other municipal waste, they all land up into the landfills and lies there. Even a glass bottle which is highly recyclable, a metal can which is highly recyclable, or a PET container which is highly recyclable, if we do not segregate, or a paper carton, it will not be recycled, and it will create a huge environmental challenge and have a tremendous amount of blockage in overall sustainability cycle. That's first premise. Second premise, yes, I fully agree. The paper has a role and will have a role in terms of making a packaging more sustainable. And here, let us importantly understand one aspect of it is that a consumer must also understand, sees, and find it's a sustainable form of packaging. And paper, by means of its nature and look and knowledge the consumer has of vis-a-vis against plastics or any other form, is people perceived it as a more recyclable, more environment friendly. It's a plant-based. So hence the paper has a bigger role and it has got a certain age. Whereas there are disadvantages or difficulties. Paper is a highly porous material, does not provide any barrier whatsoever. And especially in the pharma, food, or other FMCG product, where you have to protect your product, the paper hardly has produced these kind of things. A significant amount of work is happening on this in terms of building barriers, improving, decreasing the porosity, improving the oil and gas resistance to the paper so that they can be used in packaging. And another most important things which is happening currently, which it's visible in front of our eyes, there is a big segment in a food service, what you call FS, as well as quick service restaurant segments, where the foods are being delivered or served to you while you are consuming. In this particular space, there is a clear shift is happening from a plastic-based packaging. And I tell you why it is so important. For example, you have a bowl of noodles, or you have a samosas having it, or you have a chaat having it on the go, on the machines or delivered. You consume this food and then you dump this particular packet with the residual foods into a waste bin, or on a wet waste bin. And this is with the food contaminated packages are extremely difficult to be getting into the recycled, collected, because they will have nobody going to touch them. So this food service and quick service restaurant is shifting towards a very, very attractive form of paper-based packaging or delivery mechanism. And that is the area is booming at this point of time. And the kind of innovation happening is a mind-boggling there. It is not only from a form convenience, which I mentioned at the beginning, also that kind of paper which is coming into a domain. One very interesting aspect, so recently you have done some studies, we found it out, that, for example, a burger which you wrap on if you wrap it in a plastic paper wraps, or a samosas you wrap in a plastic bag, vis-a-vis you serve them into a paper bags, temperature retentions are much better in this particular paper bags because of the insulating, built-in insulating capabilities. Another space which I see is big happening into this food service again is the molded paper trays and containers, which is the pulp paste, which is the green material, which is recyclable. They are replacing the plastic containers at a big way. Coming into a hardcore branded food or FMCG product, mass-produced FMCG product with a long shelf life, is still a challenge in terms of the technology available to us. But I can assure you the kind of work is happening in this particular space, and already there are products into the international market and some in Indian market. We are also actively engaging. We'll have some solution very shortly, which is the entirely paper-based solutions and for non-plastics. And importantly to understand is that even if you start with the paper plastic to start with initial days, you will be reducing the plastic load from the environment. And this paper plastic combination at a certain proportions can also go to the repulping stage, and plastic can be separated and go for a recycling. And that is what the short point in this particular.
Thanks, Kalyan. Akshay, coming to you, just your thoughts on how are you guys looking at the whole sustainability piece from a packaging point of view, some new innovations in packaging you are seeing which are going to drive sustainability, and the role of paper in this space?
Thanks. So actually, we are a little bit unique in the respect that we are a packaging company in both the paperboard packaging space, which is where we have historically been, as well as more recently we are a flexible packaging company as well. So we do film-based packaging, sachets, laminates, etc. So obviously the sustainability angle is very good for us on the paperboard side, and is obviously something which everyone would say would be a threat for us on the film side. But let's look at it overall. If we say, what do we mean by sustainability? It means we want to get rid of as much plastic, or if we can't get rid of plastic, then we want to make the plastic that we use as recyclable or as environment friendly as possible. So in terms of the kind of flexible packaging that is there in the market today, we have monopolymer, multi-polymer, we have multiple PET, MetPET, poly. So when we then melt that down into a granule and we try to recycle it, it's not recyclable. So the first most important thing is that the packaging that can't be converted to paper or to these kind of biodegradable materials, for that packaging, at least can we make it recyclable? To pursue that agenda, we are investing big time this coming year in a new blown film line where we will be making MDO poly film, which will be stretch PE to replace PET. So the idea is that if you have a PET PE laminate or a PET MetPET PE laminate, which is today non-recyclable, we should be able to replace that with a monopolymer solution. So that when it enters the recycling stream, it can actually be recyclable. So it's much more valuable for a brand and for the environment. So that's for the stuff that we can't replace with paper. Then we look at the stuff which we're doing today, which is paperboard packaging. In the 90% of it, there's no problem because it's all paperboard based and it's biodegradable. So there's no issue. And for the most part, it's being collected by the Raddiwalas and sent for the recycling. There is some amount of it which has PE coatings, PET lamination, MetPET lamination. Most of this is for decorative purposes. Some of it is for barrier purposes, like for example, ice creams. In these places, today we have solutions available. For example, ice cream cartons, there's no longer any need for any PE coating. These can be completely replaced with emulsion coatings. We can do these in-house, even the mills are doing it. Similar, with things like food delivery and takeaway food containers, these can be 100% replaced with biodegradable solutions, which we have with us. So, and this is happening slowly. It's much more pronounced in Europe, and it's coming slowly to India. So today, if you're like a takeout company, like Uber Eats kind of company, or if you're a QSR restaurant and you're serving food in a plastic container, there is a 1-for-1 replacement, which there's no compromise at all in terms of quality or barrier. So that is very much available. Now on the embellishments, like things like you'd laminate metallized film on paperboard for the purpose of aesthetic appeal, or you laminate a PET film on top of the print for the purpose of a glossy finish. For these things too, there are solutions. For example, we have been doing it ourselves in-house, transfer metallization. So we laminate metallized film on board, and then we peel it off, and the metal layer remains on the board. And we're able to do this and guarantee good quality and service to the customer, which most of our competitors can't do. So this is something that's available. There's other kind of print finishes, embellishments that are also available. So, get in touch with us if you want to take this forward. So basically, and then the last thing is things like, your fiber molding and molded trays and molded products to replace these HIPS trays that go inside the box. Like for let's say a Diwali gift box, you're putting multiple chocolates, you're putting it on a plastic tray. This can be completely replaced with a biodegradable fiber-based tray. Only thing is that obviously there is a cost impact, but if you look at the overall, cost of recycling and collecting it and the regulation that you're going to get exposed to in the coming years, I think it's a win-win. So these are the kind of trends that we're seeing. Another thing is that what I forgot to mention from the last point, we have a solution for augmented reality as well. So for digital interface with consumers. So if you have a retainable part of your packaging, we have a solution where you can, link that to software, and you can have some educational thing for kids or whatever. Yeah, so that's it.
Great stuff here, Akshay. Thanks for sharing that. And maybe I can come to Super. So, not in any specific order, but maybe Pawan, if you can just talk a bit about, some of the newer trends you are seeing in packaging, which you're seeing in the West, which are likely to come to India in the next few years. What are some of the things you're seeing in that space today that could be relevant? I know pricing is a real challenge in India, both from pharma and FMCG, because price points tend to be low, and we are a very small luxury products market. What are some of the innovations you are seeing that could be interesting here, that we are likely to see in the next few years? Let's start with pharma, since that is a big focus area for you.
So in pharma, so if you see, we export in multiple countries. So there is one requirement is CR testing. So currently we are doing this is on our blister pack. So now we are searching and developing non-tearable boards where we can ship to board. And this one more requirement we are getting from our US market, where we'll develop cartons such that it will be the child resistant. So that things we are working with different agencies now. That is one more development. Also, we are getting requirement like this. Currently, many OTC products they are packing at US or European. Now they want to move this product to India. So we need this is Graphic Measure International GMI certification. So that also we are working with many agencies. Currently, all our Indian board manufacturers they are not equipped with this GMI requirement. So these two developments required to do Indian pharma industry, where we have a lot of benefits, means many products will come from that countries to India as a OTC product for packing. And if you go for develop a board which is child resistant passing, so currently what we are spending money on our blister pack or machines, that if you do here, we'll get benefit. My board will be the recycle, and it is already passing for CPSC requirement, that is Consumer Prevention Poison Act. These two development we are working with even FDA also. Then our next development, we are working to remove the PILs and medication guides where we give. We want to add in on cartons through QR code or some other way. So there we can save the material, paper material, and again we are shifting to on recyclable material like on carton, all these requirement. So these three requirements we are working on our different agencies.
Okay, thanks. Akshay, anything you are seeing as new trends in the overall, some of the latest trends that are likely to come into in India, which some of the people who have logged on will be interested to hear about. I think you already mentioned some of these in terms of, the way you are doing the branding on top of the boards, etc. Anything else that you're seeing which will be different and which can be cutting edge in the next few years, but also affordable?
Yeah. So I think if you go to Europe, the US, today the trend is more towards matte and more subtle effects. There's much more premiumness associated today with subtlety, and instead of the kind of jhatak sort of finishes that we see in Asia, in Europe and the US, the kind of look and feel and the trend is more towards looking more sustainable and looking more subtle and more understated. So we have better quality raw material, better quality finish, but like little less of everything. So you'll replace like a metallized film, you'll replace it with a virgin board, and you'll have like some amount of hot foil stamping. So then that conveys a certain aesthetic and certain premiumness. So we're seeing that happening more and more, even in India, with some of the more premium brands. And within the same customer also, you'll have the premium brand with this kind of finish, and you'll have the mass brand with a totally different type of finish. So we're seeing it slowly going that way. And there's a change in inks from more like glossy kind of inks to more matte, soft touch, these different, like more innovative finishes on the board. So we're seeing that. The second thing I'm seeing is a lot of food companies are focusing on food grade inks and food grade varnishes. Up till now in India, the regulation on paperboard packaging when it comes to food grade inks is quite lax if you compare to Europe and the US and most developed countries. So we're seeing India slowly go that way. I think after this whole FSSAI getting much more interventionist, a lot of brands have woken up and have started voluntarily sort of moving their packaging towards better quality inks and varnishes. So we have also taken a step in that direction. Several of the brands that we produce for are with low migration, low odor inks, which are 100% compliant with EU regulations. So this takes a big effort and there is a cost impact. But we're doing that more and more. And yes, as Mr. Chogle mentioned, nowadays there's so many certifications that one has to take. So our factory is also GMI approved, but certainly like from the paperboard to the ink to the converting division, there's the entire industry needs to sort of wake up to all of these requirements. Today the consistency is a big problem. So you're buying paperboard, the shade should be consistent from one lot to the next lot. You're buying ink, that ink formulation should not be variable. So those kind of discipline, like sort of approach is something that's coming in very rapidly, I would say. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. Good to hear about these trends, because I think that's really where a lot of the industry will move to, whether it's on food products, also some good examples of recycling to maintain sustainability. Kalyan, coming to you, just some thoughts around latest trends that you are seeing from other countries. Let's talk also about Southeast Asia. It may be more relevant for India from a price point of view, because Europe and US consumers are able to afford much more. They're willing to pay also a bit more because of being environmentally conscious, socially conscious, health conscious. India is more closer to Southeast Asia in terms of how our consumers here behave. So just some thoughts around some of the latest trends you are seeing.
Yeah, so obviously you're very right. There are the comparison between Europe's and developed country versus us is not very relevant because the entire environment is different. Now, come back to the trend. Yes, I agree to some extent that the Akshay was touch based about getting into a more simplified design, getting into a more natural look is becoming a more vector-based graphics are becoming more and more popular, more simplified rather than a image-based. As it all become more unified, and the claims are become more complex and regulated. So that is there are certain amount of transparency coming, and that has been also or communicated through packaging. Another bigger trend is the coming is that there is a huge consumer awareness in terms of use of packaging, unnecessary packaging for your product. And there are feedbacks coming pouring out to multiple products, including us, is that do you require to put your packaging? Is product is beautiful, but do you have over packaging, and so on and so forth. And also that there are awareness in terms of is that plastics being used for packaging, is the plastic is safe for food product, is the plastic is safe for the skincare product where I'll be putting into the. So there are many of these informations are based or these questions are based on a certain amount of misinformations. But having said that, there is a huge opportunity for the FMCG companies to tweak their offers in this particular manner and to gain market shares by winning consumers out of it. And there are multiple space. We are all as organizations working onto this space to create or catch those vibes to can come in. With the recent pandemic, there are the heightened the of safety and security and hygiene of the product or the packaging which is being used, especially in the food and pharma and personal care where you are actually interacting with them. So that's a big concern. The various initiatives from the packaging, trust to the consumer is also happening. So that, am I audible?
Yeah, I think you had just broken off a bit in the middle. So
Yeah,
maybe the last point, if you can just repeat that again.
Yeah, pardon, my internet connection is little unstable. So what I was talking about during pandemic, there's a heightened concern about consumers about safety and sanitation of the product or the food product or personal care product, what they are. So through packaging, communications are made that it is safer the product. And I can give you certain examples. If you find a biscuit pack which is a very crumpled and D-shaped into the shelf, vis-a-vis a pack which is neat and which has got a very taut feel of your hand, it gives you a fair amount of confidence. Or a chip bags, potato chips bags, which is the air has gone out, it's a limp, and you will find that this product may not be safe to consume. So these are the very good examples of the trend which is coming into the Indian market. Another trend which I think is that it's increasingly becoming very, very popular and it is happening onto the space where there is a claim of nutrition, hygiene, and organic, all these spaces. They want the packaging also to sync to that particular manner. You can't say that, look, I have we have organic atta and then you pack it in a multiple layers of plastics and all that, and the consumer actually pushing you back to choose a very, very sustainable form. And it is building up. It is still a niche at this point of time in India, but I'm quite sure over a period of time, and with the globe becoming uniform because of social media and internet, this will be quite fast catching up in India. Challenge for Southeast Asia and India is that we play in a more of a smaller pack option because of our affordability concern of our consumers and reach. And that is where to bring in certain amount of this so-called sustainable packaging or paper-based packaging is extremely challenging because your delta in that particular space between plastic to other alternatives are very, very high, and your offer is non-affordable. And that is the USP, and that is the good thing about selling a well-packaged food, because it gives a safer product, it gives a secure product, and it is also deliver the full nutrition or nutritional values to the lower stratas of consumer through a very low price point. And any sustainable form of packaging has to a long way to go to bridge that gap. And we are all trying our best and at a various levels through a scientific, through research, to bridge these gaps and create a more sustainable form. That's the trend.
Thanks, Kalyan. I think we do a round of last questions, and then we can maybe just take up some of the questions from the audience.
Sure.
So anything that, and I'll start with you, Pawan. Anything that the industry has done, Indian packaging industry has done differently for the last few years? I mean, I know there's a drive towards sustainability, etc., and some examples of best in class outside of your business that you look up to and say, "Wow, that's great. I really enjoyed that." It could be in consumer, it could be in automobile parts, it could be in fashion. Anything interesting that you've seen which has been done differently, which is becoming like almost like a benchmark globally?
So if you see in case of boards, now all these board manufacturers, they're developing the board which is less, you can say GSM, and it will run giving good stiffness, and it will run on our high-speed machine. So this is a new development, and we are getting samples to run on our machines. So I can say this is the good development where my paper board will be the less, and I will get good, you can say, speed of the machine plus what my consumer is required or patient is required. I can fulfill that.
And these are boards, these are those blister pack type boards where you can directly put the medicines.
Correct. You can say it is a compliance pack or cartons.
Okay. Anything else you're seeing which is sort of like creates a wow for you as a consumer as well, outside of your sector, which you are saying, wow, it's great packaging. I mean, I can look at brands like Paperboard that created very exciting packaging in the last 2 years. Anything else that you think of which sort of creates a wow element for you, which which you think is replicable from a global perspective?
So if you'll see currently the cosmetic packs. So I'll not take the name. If you'll say that cosmetics packs, they are designed up to the Indian companies. They have designed cartons, which is a global standard. You'll find in market from L'Oreal or Livers, all these things. They have given very, very attractive pack. So if you'll go to, you can say we have collected brand from outside also, and these brands are better than their packs as compared to global level.
Okay. Thanks, Pawan.
All these printings, it is done at Indian vendor. You can say TCPL or you can say Pragati Pack. All these vendors only they have done this printing. If you'll see the liquor packs, that is also paperboard. Yeah, they have developed cartons as very, very attractive with all features, and they are exporting from India to you can say Russia or you can say European countries.
Okay. Yeah, those are good examples, especially in cosmetics, and in liquor, etc. Very, very. Also in dairy now, some very interesting packaging coming up for on the go consumption. Akshay, coming to you, some thoughts around some innovative packaging you've seen in India in the last 1.5, 2 years, especially during COVID. A lot of companies came out with a lot of hygiene-based packaging to give a sense of comfort to consumers. Anything you saw which was interesting? Which you think, or anything you're hearing of, which is becoming a global, where India is becoming a global leader or likely to become a global leader?
So I think in India, I love the paperboard bottles, although that's not sustainable packaging or environment friendly as such, but beautiful concept. Even the ID foods, I think Mr. Chatterjee mentioned those. So it's very nice design and good aesthetic. Then there's also some, this is not India, but I wanted to just mention there was this Chanel perfume. The bottle thickness they managed to reduce by some 10 or 15% just by improving the jacket that they use around the bottle. It's a paper-based jacket. So they use this paper called Fiberform paper from Billerud Korsnäs, which is very formable. And they embossed that paper in the form of the bottle, and then they just kind of jacketed it with that. So that gave so much protection that they were able to cut the glass by 10 to 20%. So imagine the massive cost saving that they took, and the bottle started to look much nicer. So all Chanel No. 5 all over the world is with this paper. and we partnered with them to bring it to India recently. So that's a lovely solution. So
is that a new bottle design on number 5? Because that's one of those
in the
brands
last couple
which
of
they
years,
normally don't touch at all. It's like the bread and butter brand for the company, right?
that's what. So they made it much more delicate, the glass.
Oh wow, I will definitely look that
Much
up. I
more
haven't seen
delicate.
it.
And right now, if you take a perfume bottle, the glass is actually much more content than
Then the bottle, yeah.
required to hold the liquid because of the damage and breakage. So it is something which I found really, really innovative.
Okay. Any other examples from your side that you looked at, or
So
that you guys?
nowadays, in cosmetics, as Mr. Chogle said, there's a lot of focus on brand aesthetic. So we've done with Unilever for Glow and Lovely, and with McEnroe for the code cartons, all with cold foil. So it's a beautiful aesthetic finish where you get the whiteness of the board and you get the luster of a metal, both on the same surface. So it really strikes you on the shelf.
Okay, we'll definitely look out for these. Interesting. Very nice. Kalyan, anything from your side?
Yeah, in India, that which actually India is Indian concept going to the global packaging market is minimalism in terms of the material usage. And when I say that, I say it with a lot of confidence, because in India, we started a long back this journey, not because of sustainability. I confess that it is because of our cost pressures to make the product more affordable. In the kind of the power intensity of packaging used for Indian products, being in a very also deeply into the very small size pack SKUs, which is a far lower, and that is why you see the Indian Indian consumers packaging consumptions in a consuming populations also is a very, very low. So that's the trend which is going to Europe. They are looking at it. They are shifting from a more of a rigid to flexible, because those are required. Those are reduction of packaging reduction. That is one trend. Another trend which is recently our board divisions and packaging divisions has bring in is that you have familiar with the soap carton. Any soap you get into the carton form, there is a carton. Inside there is a plastic packet which wraps the soap. I think is there an interruption? Rajat is not.
No. I was just put off my video for two seconds. Just carry on.
Okay. So this is a development which is being used and now going to take forward, is that to elimination of that soap inside wrapper by itself by putting an antifungal coating onto the board. These antifungal coatings are safe for skins, and it required no plastic usage or an additional packaging usage. So that technology is going to be is already in the market, and I think there will be good for the entire globe for carry out and remove one layer of product packaging from there.
Sure.
Another areas which is happening is that getting into a more and more lighter form of cartons. For example, any cartons on a food product or a pharma product, cartons not being a mono cartons not being a barrier providers, is actually required an inner pack, which Barun also mentioned, a liner inside, which will actually protect the product. So there are very advanced stage of development happening of a linerless cartons, where you don't require these liners at all, and the board itself will be protecting for the product, not A to Z, but to a large extent of product.
Okay, thanks. I think we have some questions from the audience, so maybe we'll take up some of those.
Yep.
And again, this is open to anybody. How do you reduce the cost of short-run jobs, especially since the paper board is getting more expensive by the day, and finding accurate board sizes to reduce wastage for small quantities is very hard? Any of you want to take that up?
I can take that up.
Sure.
Yeah, so we do more larger run formats usually to get better output on the machine, but increasingly this is the trend of smaller and smaller run lengths. So I think it's to do with planning, and your costing has to be done accordingly. So you need to know what kind of volume commitment your customer is giving you. And if he's not able to hold to that, then you have to sort of revise the pricing accordingly. I think that's the only thing you can do.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can come in and add on certain things.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Short runs is the need of the hour, and more customized packaging increase the demand for short runs and to a specific zone. And one of the areas which actually starts with the way you conceived. First of all, why this run size comes in? Run size is primarily to create a graphics onto a package. That's the run size. And to create a graphics, you required a certain amount of graphics designing, which is friendly for a quick changeover. That's point number one. Second thing is that you build the artworks or your graphics on a hexachrom platform, which is use a standard 6-color job things. So every time you change from one job to another job, you don't waste too much of material, and your make ready time reduces, and thereby your turnaround time comes down. So there are the one technical solutions in this particular space, and we are doing it very actively in this particular space.
Sure. So I'm sure some of the people who are listening in will probably reach out to you guys. Another question is, how do you ensure the integrity of Braille markings and whether they translate to the correct text, the height of Braille dots are good, no broken Braille dots, etc. Especially where you want to put packaging for the blind. I mean, how is that being done? Any thoughts on that? Any of you can take it.
I don't have any clue.
I
Sorry.
think
Pawan,
Mr.
you
Chogle
guys,
is the best
you
person.
guys do anything on Braille?
I will take Braille. So Braille is we have for all export market. No, Braille is compulsory for pharma market. So we follow all standard which is required for European, and all our custom this printer. Initial stage we go to means even blind school, we get it checked, validate, and based on that we proceed for pharma market.
Okay. And is that put up the cost for packaging a lot to put Braille on packaging?
No, because if your quantity is good, it is not any that much cost, because it is just embossing type job.
Okay. Another question is, India is not allowing recycled paper in food packaging. Are we missing an important step in closing the loop and limiting ourselves to achieve circular economy? Any thoughts on that? Recycled paper for food packaging?
I can answer this one.
Sure.
I think that this whole thing that you have to use recycled paper is a misnomer. I don't think that there's anything wrong in using virgin paper or virgin paper board. Is absolutely environment friendly. Especially if you're using FSC board, there's absolutely no issue in using virgin board. In fact, without virgin board, there will be no recycled board, because after 4 or 5 cycles in recycling, the paper loses its properties and can't be recycled anymore. So you definitely need to use some amount of virgin board. And if you look at mills like ITC and global mills like Stora and Kotka and these guys, their raw material, their entire chain, their supply chain is so clean and so well managed that there's absolutely no ethical issue in using virgin board. And in fact, there's a surplus of forest in Europe, and even in India, for every tree that ITC would cut for making its paperboard, they're planting 2 more. So there's absolutely no impact in terms of forestry in these kind of boards, because they're all FSC certified and it's not costing you much to use FSC certified boards. So I don't think that you need to use recycled board. Second point is, recycled board for food packaging is not a good idea anyway, because of the chemicals and stuff that go in that paper, in that material. So generally, the whole world is moving away from recycled in food packaging and in pharma.
Okay.
So yeah.
Akshay, there's another question for you, that how barrier properties would be achieved in PE laminate while replacing it with PET PE laminate, and whether this laminate would work on some filling machines.
Yeah, so we've actually, I'll answer the second part first. We've actually done trials with Syntegon, the Bosch, on their lines, and we've observed no problem in terms of the runnability and the sealing and everything. Some minor modification required, which is not a big deal. So it certainly runs, there's no problem. In terms of the barrier property, it depends very much on the type of product. There's different solutions. So I encourage you to get in touch with us, info@tcpl.in for more information on this, and we can discuss separately.
Okay, and maybe one or two more questions. They want to hear from Kalyan Chattachi on the innovations happening in cigarette packaging. A lot of changes happening in that sector. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, cigarette packaging is by far is it's a very, very evolved packaging even today. It used a large portion of paper-based sustainable form, and there are some amount of work happening in terms of making it a far more environmental friendly. And unfortunately, at this point of time, as I don't represent that cigarette business, I will not be able to talk about much on
Sure,
this
sure.
platform.
One last question. We can talk about sustainability. Talking about sustainability and beautiful looking packaging, which is achieved by, say, metallization, foiling, certain varnishes, which might not go along with recycling concept at all. So what are the suggestions for that? Because as you go more and more complicated and to try and beautify these packs with a lot of metal, etc. And I mean, any of you can take that up here.
Yeah, so sorry, Mr. Chatterjee.
Carry on. Akshay, please.
So there are solutions like you can do transfer metallization, you can do cold foil, you can do hot foil stamping. All of these are 100% biodegradable solutions for the packaging. Secondly, even if you do laminate a metallized film on the board, the content of plastic is hardly 5% of the total weight of the material. When that goes to the mill and they put it in the grinding and mixing, the plastic and the paper layers get separated anyway, and they skim off the plastic from the top. All major mills in India have this facility. As long as that carton with the plastic on it has been picked up and put into the recycling stream, there's no problem.
Okay. Kalyan, you were going to say something as well?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important thing is that today we perceive metallizations, gold, all these things are the key to the premiumness. Yes, it is to some extent because that is how the prevalent situation is all about. But I can tell you that there are plenty of premiumness you can create by simpling the stuff. There are plenty of examples. In fact, the trend globally is to get you into a more high value premium product, a simplicity, going more towards natural, rather than creating artificial things about it. And that is a trend which will also shortly be coming in India. Yeah, but the point is taken that if you wanted to continue to use the same path of metallizations, decorative metallizations, metallic ink to decorate those packs and all that, these activities or these features will take the packaging away from the sustainability and recyclability. And as a responsible citizen, you have to find a solution to create a differentiation. Premiumization is to create differentiation, create a clutter making representation of your pack into the clutter, among the clutter.
All right. So that's all the questions I had. Any last thoughts from you guys? Akshay, Pawan, Kalyan, any last thoughts before we wrap up? Last words of advice for people looking at getting into this sector. Any last comments?
Can I come in?
Sure.
First of all, that as this program was on a paperboard and packaging, and today we are sustainability is becoming so much of talking points for every particular forum. I want to talk about few pointers to all of us to look into and ponder upon in terms of how you can do that. Paper can be a very good sustainable form, provided on certain aspects that this paper is sourced from a sustainable and renewable material. That's number one. Is it being synthesized using a lower natural resources like water, air, and all that things? Has our packaging has been well designed to make it a lightweight so that we don't use more materials for the same consumption pattern? Can we improve the durability and shelf life of the particular product by using less material and less paper for that? And can we make this paper or any packaging material without usage of any hazardous material? Let me tell you, the paper is a very dirty industry used to be. And there are a lot of chemical used to go into making of paper, from a pulp to paper. So the world is changing quite drastically. And as Akshay mentioned about that food grade, virgin grade paper, the ITC has a chlorine-free paper, which is ECF, which is available in the market for people to use for direct food contact. And it pains me when I see a lot of food products from a very reputed brand comes out on a food direct in contact, on a warm hot food direct in contact with a recycled brown paper. Trust me, those are not very safe. That's my take. And design your product to easy to recycle. For example, I can tell you a simple logics, and I follow it, and I keep telling people to follow it. You have a pack, and you have a carton, you have a tear strip, you have a flap to tear, and to access your product. Don't disengage the entire 100% from there. Remain a small person to stick to that particular mother pack, so that because the smaller unit, the moment to disintegrate that particular smaller unit never get collected, and being a small and small, it gets into a non-collectible resource and get into a oceans and rivers and water channels and all that. Please segregate. I mentioned in an early chat that please promote, educate, talk in your all as you are as a peer for segregate our waste at our home, so that it helps us to make the environmental cleaner. And that's what I thought that is important for all of us to look into it at this particular moment, because we are sitting on a bigger challenge, and all of us has to be collectively find a solution and contribute to the solution. And we can't look at the authorities to give us all the solutions. That's my belief.
Sure. So thanks, everybody. I think we're on the top of the hour. Pawan, Akshay, Kalyan, thanks for great conversation. I'm sure there are lots of questions still coming. So maybe Rima, if you can connect them to the respective panelists at a later date, at later time, so that they can revert on those. But thank you, guys. Great discussion and great learning for me as well, because I'm mostly on the front end of sales and marketing. But great stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajat. Thank you, Rajat, for introduction.
Thank you, everyone. All the speakers for sharing your thoughts. And I'm sure today's takeaway will be very helpful for all of us. So we appreciate you being here. And the questions that has not been taken up in the Q&A, we will be taking them offline, and we promise that we will get back to you as soon as possible. So from Read Munch Exhibition, thank you once again for joining us today. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Thank you, Rima. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.